Hello, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Line of Duty Series 6, specifically the finale of Season 6. Lots of mixed reviews around that. I'm going to get into my opinion and why I think many people were disappointed by the finale and whether or not we're going to see a Series 7. So let's get straight into the video. So Series 6 as a whole, I loved. It was so good, like the suspense was there, the tension was there, there were so many dramatic moments and reveals and cliffhangers, like especially the cliffhangers between episodes was insane. Like the Joe, Ryan and Kate cliffhanger, and then the who's Joe's parent, or like who's Joe related to cliffhanger. Like, oh my god, it was so good. I also liked the addition of new characters. I think the characters that they introduced this season were really, really well developed and really fleshed out. Joe was such an incredible character. You know, never quite knew her motivation at the start, and then we just saw her break down and reveal, you know, such a tragic backstory, and I'm glad she got the ending that she deserved. I think that was very nice. And then we had the introduction of Chloe, and Chloe was a phenomenal character. I think it took a while to actually see more of her character apart from just kind of like the person who goes and finds everything, and she found literally everything. Like, she did all of the work this series, and I wish she got a bit more credit from like the big three from it, because she was literally digging up everything. Like, all of the big reveals were pretty much down to Chloe, and I thought that was incredible. And if we do have a Series 7, I really want her to be in it, because she was just incredible. I really loved her, and I genuinely don't understand why people thought that she was bent. Like, there was so many theories about Chloe being, you know, like corrupt and, you know, part of the OCG. And I was like, how can you see that? Like, she is literally doing all of their work for them. She is finding out everything. That was something I didn't get. And lots of people thought that she was Tony Gates' daughter, because he had a daughter called Chloe as well. I personally didn't like that theory. I like the idea of, you know, the show coming full circle and the idea of her getting kind of like revenge from her father, but they would know that she's Tony Gates' daughter. Like, they would know that. There's no way of them not knowing that. Chris Lomax, I really loved as well. Like, I did have a bit of a soft spot for him. I don't know why, because he did remind me a lot of Dot, and Dot is one of my favourite characters. I think he was just so like geniusly written, and he was great. And, you know, Lomax is very similar to Dot in certain ways, especially in like the way he talks and his kind of appearance and stuff. And I think that was deliberate, maybe to kind of put the suspicion onto Lomax. And lots of people thought that Lomax was part of the OCG, and there were times when I thought that as well. Like, I assume with the kind of like forging documents that happened in the last episode with Lomax and Kate signing off of the transport for Joe, I assume both of their signatures were forged and it wasn't just Kate's, because they didn't really explain that. I assume it meant that it was either Buckells in prison who did it, or it was like the prison guards forging the signatures and not like Lomax doing his and then Kate's, I assume. Another really positive thing about Series 6 for me was that they kind of brought us back to, you know, characters we'd seen in other series. So obviously Buckells was brought back, and we'll get into Buckells later on. And Ryan Pilkington, such an incredible character, like his stone cold stares, like, oh, the actor, he does such a great job at kind of like, you could like imagine what Ryan was thinking, and, you know, just staring, like he was brilliant. Like that one stare with Joe in the office when Joe was like telling him to transfer and stuff, like it was amazing. Like you felt on edge watching him do that. Like, he's such an incredible actor, and to think he had been there from series 1 as well, like absolutely brilliant. I also like the introduction of Osborne again, and the fact that he is the chief commissioner. I always get confused. It's like CCC and like CC. Like, he's the top dog basically, and obviously he was part of series 1. He was Steve's boss in anti-terrorism. He's obviously corrupt, like that. There was absolutely no question about that. He is corrupt. I wish we could actually have like the actual main three interact with him a bit more, because all we see of him is on the TV, And I think that's probably like intentional in a way, because it just kind of shows how kind of inaccessible he is, and how like protected, and how, you know, if he doesn't want people to know who he, like, to get to him, then he won't. Like, if he can't even stop anti-corruption getting to him, like, I don't know, that probably didn't make much sense. It was just trying to say that, you know, our characters can't even interact with him because he is so powerful. The only interaction they get is him doing like the speeches on TV and stuff. Another character I was very happy to see again, well, happy mixed with bittersweet, was Carmichael. Carmichael, incredible character. Anna Maxwell. Martin is genius. She's in Motherland, which I've recommended multiple times on this channel. And yeah, she is just such an interesting character. I personally don't think she's corrupt, but I can definitely understand why people think that she is, you know, part of the OCG and things. My personal impression of Carmichael is that she is a career ambitionist. She is like overly respectful and possibly fearful of authority, and that's why she's kind of taking like Osborne's commands so seriously. And I think that she, maybe power hungry might play into this as well. I think she likes to be in charge, she likes to be given the orders, and if she receives orders, she will carry them out like whatever. I don't think she's inherently corrupt, and I think we definitely saw that from the end scene with her and Hastings. Yeah, if we do have a series 7, I definitely want her to be in it, like her interviewing people, like she's a good interviewer, like oh god, it was just brilliant. Overall for series 6, again, like I said, I did really enjoy it. However, I do think there was quite a few things that were kind of a bit underdeveloped and kind of like purely thrown in for the sake of kind of like a plot twist, if that makes sense. The biggest one for me is that Sidwani, he was working with Osborne, I can't remember the exact like titles. The fact that he, who has been kind of like the antagonist for AC-12 for so many series, is actually on their side and is fighting for them. Like it was a shock. I was, you know, the shock value was definitely there, but I just wish they'd kind of fleshed it out a bit. They should have developed it a bit more. I don't know how, but I also think the relationship between Joe and Kate, while I enjoyed kind of like the build up and like the tension and stuff, it just kind of just dropped off, which I guess is understandable since Joe, you know, led Kate to her death, and you know, but I felt like there could have been just a little, like just one sentence between Joe and Kate, just to kind of so people knew what was going on. Was Kate pretending? Because obviously we know Joe wasn't pretending with her feelings like that. We know that. But just kind of whether Kate was, because Kate as a character has always been straight and everything, you know. I know a lot of people, I did find some things quite funny, the way that Kate was saying that, you know, just having a short haircut makes people like question whether you're straight and stuff like that. I thought that comment was really funny and, you know, kind of like a point to the audience and stuff. However, I do feel like they could have given viewers just a bit more information about what Kate's feelings were, because obviously she did have a soft spot for Joe, whether that was just kind of like a friendship thing or whether it, you know, there was more of like a romantic element to it there. But like, there was so much build up for them going on like romantic dinners and drinks and, you know, those like arm touches, and yeah, and then no payoff in the end. Like, even if it was just like literally like a couple of sentences being like, you know, Joe say like, were you pretending? And Kate be like, no, you know I wasn't pretending, but obviously nothing can happen now because, you know, you've revealed your true self and everything. You know, just like a little conversation, just an acknowledgement, because I know a lot of viewers were kind of annoyed about the relationship kind of coming off a bit queerbaity. So queerbaiting is kind of the practice when like TV like writers and directors and everything kind of hint to a like LGBT relationship or character, but it never actually happens. So kind of we might see this in like Sherlock is kind of the biggest example I know of queerbaiting, where it's obvious that they're hinting that there is more to Watson and Sherlock's relationship, but then there is absolutely nothing else. But they are obviously kind of like coding it in that way, if that makes sense, and it's in the subtext. And with Joe and Kate, I don't think it actually is, because Joe is, you know, LGBT, and she does have, you know, 2 relationships with women that we do know of, you know, with Farida at the start, and then the ginger woman that she's in witness protection with. So it's like kind of like half. But I can definitely understand why viewers were annoyed, and literally just like one sentence in the script would fix that problem for a lot of people. Just kind of an acknowledgement and stuff like that. So let's talk about the ending of Series 6. So initially, not gonna lie, I was quite underwhelmed. I think it just... So we obviously got So they found out through this whole like definitely thing through, all of... I just think they're definitely linking up just the misspelling of the word, which is a word that is very commonly misspelled, to find out this big guy who is like head in the anti-corruption unit. I think it's a little bit weird, but it is something that they've built up for ages, so I definitely understand why they did that. And obviously, so we got this kind of like lead up to who is going to go into the interview room. And at first I was like, it looked like when they were stepping out of the car, it looked like they were in a suit. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is Osborne. And then some bits that looked more like tracksuit. And I was like, okay, this is probably Buckells. And then it was like, you could see the guy with like a bald head. And it's like, well, that's definitely not Buckells. And then it was Buckells. Like, the build up to it was a bit anticlimactic. But I liked the interview scene, even though most of it was kind of like no comment and all that sort of stuff. I liked Buckells trying to scheme for immunity, and then, them pointing out that he's actually, whichever one he goes with, he's going to lose immunity. And that was kind of like a good gotcha moment, and I thought that was brilliant. So obviously this whole H thing, which I think the whole H thing has been kind of like blown out of the water. H isn't a thing. They've said it in multiple times in just this series alone that they misread the H thing. H, I believe, was just linking to Hilton, because that was who Dot was taking orders from, I believe. But, there are 4 corrupt officers working in the police stations. And Buckells isn't H. He isn't H. He isn't this, like, top dog. He isn't the big person controlling all of it. He is just one corrupt officer who is taking messages and sending orders to people. He's basically just like the middleman. He just doing it for money. And I think that fits Buckells' character really well. Like this money-hungry, greedy person who will kind of do whatever he can to get money. And I think that's a good character to have at being one of the corrupt officers. Not somebody that is inherently evil or who's been groomed into it, somebody who just wants money. Another thing that I really liked about the way they did Buckells was the way they kind of emphasised, you are so incompetent at your job. The only reason that you could have risen up the ranks as you have is because you are corrupt and you're being pulled up by somebody else corrupt, which is hinting at it probably being Osborne, but if not Osborne, then somebody else high up in the ranks that is pulling Buckells up so he can kind of get more powerful and do more jobs for him. And again, that is good. I like the kind of hinting at kind of like real life politicians, let's say, at being incompetent, and like their corruption is hidden by their incompetence. And I think that is a great character, and I think that's a really good reasoning to why Buckells is kind of linked to the OCG. The reason I initially felt this was quite underwhelming is because, the Buckells interview ended and I was like, okay, so he isn't the top dog. This isn't the big guy that we've caught. This is just middleman. It's somebody, messenger, that kind of person. So the next, because it was 15 minutes, I looked at the clock after that interview ended, we had 15 minutes left of the show. And I was like, right, something big is going to happen in these 15 minutes. And nothing did. It's so hard to explain, but like we are just so kind of used to expecting these massive explosive finales. Like the urgent exit required scene that we saw at the end of series 3 was absolutely incredible, and that I think for many people is kind of like the high point for them, and I was expecting that. I was expecting a scene similar to that. So there were a lot of moments in series 6 for me, and not series 6 as a whole, just the end episode, where we were kind of getting something good and then nothing, getting something good, then nothing. So Fairbank, the interview of Fairbank, who Joe believed to be her dad, and that was an interesting thing. Oh my god, are we actually going to crack Fairborn? Are we going to get something from him? And no, like that interview was pretty much pointless. It was just no comment, just playing on this I don't know anything thing. And that was kind of a bit underwhelming at first, and I was just like, okay, no, this is because we've got the good guy, we've got him coming. And the Buckells interview, I didn't mind. I think it was quite good. As I said before, there was a lot of kind of interesting implications in it, and I think that was quite good. But again, so it was like, right, something good's going to happen in the last 15 minutes? No. One thing I really like about Line of Duty is kind of, you know, the descriptions at the end, what's like telling us what's happening with the main characters or people that we've seen in the series. And I really liked the ones that they did this season. So obviously we saw Joe in witness protection, and that was great. AC-12 never being weaker, so they have been the weakest that they are. So kind of hinting that kind of corruption is winning because anti-corruption is literally being like stifled. And I think it's a shame if the series does end on this, with AC-12 being the weakest they've ever been. That would be a bit sad. Another thing they put in the credits was that Central Police are trying to get Buckells immunity, so that the evidence against him and the evidence that there is institutionalised corruption in the police force will not be heard in court, so that, you know, people will not hear about the corruption. And again, I think that is setting up a Series 7 like so well. So why was Series 7 so underwhelming and so disappointing almost for so many people? Personally, I wasn't disappointed, more just kind of a bit underwhelmed in the moment. However, I do think overall the series was brilliant and the ending makes a lot of sense to me. But the reasons I think it was so underwhelming were that A, people were expecting a massive, explosive, phenomenal finale, and we didn't get that. And yeah, I can definitely understand why people were going into the last episode thinking, right, something amazing is going to happen, and it didn't. And I can definitely understand why people were kind of really let down by that. Another reason why people may be disappointed is kind of all the theories that were going around, like all the fan theories. With the amount of theories that you hear, so I saw so many different theories, like I actually had to stop following certain pages because they were so good at figuring out things in like the trailer. Like they figured out that Ryan was the one who was killed in the Ryan, Kate and Joe like cliffhanger, and I got that spoiled for me before the episode even aired. So people were getting really good and really almost like obsessive with watching the series all the way through, picking out all these different clues, and then they didn't get all of them fulfilled, obviously, because they cannot get all of them fulfilled because there can only be kind of like one explanation for it. And I saw so many different theories and so many people like rooting for their own theories that even if it was anything else, just apart from, you know, the one, if it wasn't the one that they wanted, they're going to be disappointed. And so many people had their own individual theories, and it's never going to match up with everybody, and I think that's why a lot of people were disappointed. The ending will not satisfy everyone is basically the point I'm trying to get at, because everybody wants their theory to happen and everyone thinks their theory is the best, when in fact, like, there are so many different theories, they're not going to please everybody. And I do think Buckells worked as being the person that they take down at the end. However, I do think it was just executed a bit better. Especially with Buckells, it's like, it makes sense why he was always the one that came in when AC-12 were kind of getting close to Gates and then to Ros Huntley. Like, he kind of came in and took over, and it makes sense. Buckells makes sense to me. However, the execution about it was a bit poor. I felt like they could have just done something else right at the end, or just hinted that they were going to take it down, just to give the viewers a bit more satisfaction. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, it would be much appreciated, and comment down below, do you think this is the end for Line of Duty? What did you think of Series 6? What do you think about the conclusion as a whole? And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!